And we are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the one, the only WAN show. Actually, there's hundreds of them at this point, but that's a minor detail. Hundreds of WAN shows. This one is going to be unique, though. It'll be different from all the other ones in that this is the first time ever here on the WAN show that I and James have co-hosted it from remote locations together. Now, I have co-hosted with James before, and I have co-hosted remotely with someone other than James before, but this combination, this is brand new. So get ready for something that's unlike anything you've ever seen before. James, do I have you amped for the show? Like, do you feel good? Do you want to listen to the rest of it?
Do you believe in life after Luke? Everyone's going to be singing that all weekend now. You're welcome.
Oh, Lordy. We've got a bunch of great topics for you guys today. This one is my personal favorite. I was reading an article on The Verge yesterday, and I was halfway through it, and I realized, why was this ever a thing? Facebook has apparently killed their pseudoscience ad category. So I thought that one was pretty good. What do you got, James? What's your top topic?
Well, there's something similar from YouTube where apparently they're going to be just removing videos that contain medically unsubstantiated content. And we also, man, we have to talk about RTX Voice. It's so sick.
It is really cool, except for one small rub.
Don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it? Okay, all right. I won't spoil it, but there's something that you might not know about RTX Voice. That was my hint. It was just a hint. It wasn't entirely spoiled, right? We still good?
That was subtle.
That was subtle. All right.
Roll the intro.
All right. No, I got one more. It's four. It's four, James. You got to do 4 topics. Each host presents 2 topics. Okay, these are informal rules, and we do deviate from them from time to time. AMD has announced their 3rd gen Ryzen 3 processors and B550 chipset, and I'm real excited about those as well. This is one of those weeks where I say, we've got a lot of great topics for you guys, and we actually have a lot of great topics for you. Let's roll that intro. Oh, of course, I forgot to set it public on YouTube. Figures. That's fine, it's public now. It doesn't matter.
How do I see you instead of me?
I don't know, get good.
My goodness.
The show is brought to you today by Pluralsight and Vessi Footwear. Yeah, that's right, that footwear. You wear it on your foot.
Foot here.
Oh, I love it. All right, so guys, I want to jump right into the headline topic today. I actually don't. I want to talk about the pseudoscience category, but the AMD Ryzen 3 announcement is the one that I put in the title and thumbnail, so we're going to go with that one. The original article here is, well, basically everywhere. TechSpot posted about it. Extreme Tech posted about it. AMD has announced, I was starting to think they weren't going to do it. Zen 2 launched with Ryzen 5, Ryzen 7, Ryzen 9, and I had thought for quite a while there that AMD was just going to round out the low end of their product lineup with last gen products. They were just going to let it be, okay, look, hey, you don't have enough for a Ryzen 5 3rd gen, well then that's fine. Why don't you just buy a Ryzen 5 2nd gen or something along those lines. And so, hold on a second. Okay, I can fix that for you at some point, James, but it's a lower priority right now. I want to get through this topic. So yeah, I thought they were just going to do that. Nope, it turns out they have decided to take the same thumb screws that they took to to Intel's Core i7s, Core i5s, Core i9s, and they are applying them to Intel's Core i3s. So the Ryzen 3 3100 and 3300X, these are entry-level chips. Both of them are going to be quad cores with SMT. So that means 4 cores, 8 threads, and 18 megs of total cache. Both of them, get this, are coming with support for PCI Express Gen 4. So for a total price of an entry-level, I haven't even gotten into the motherboard yet, but let's just say this. For a couple $100, you're going to be able to get a chip and board that is quad-core PCIe Gen 4, and that is coming in the next little bit here. So the Ryzen 3 3100...
No segment is safe, Intel.
No. The 3100 is 3.6 gigahertz base, 3.9 boost. That thing is going to game. It's going to game for $99, $100, and that'll be positioned against the Core i3 9100F. So 9100 Pay Respects Edition. And the Ryzen 3 3300X, that's going to be 0.2 gigahertz higher base, so 3.8 base, 4.3 boost. That thing is going to really game. Like, you're going to be able to pair that with something like an RTX 2060, RTX 2060 Super, and really get the performance that you're expecting out of that graphics card, as long as you're not playing a game that is particularly CPU demanding. Like, there are some games out there that demand a lot of threads, even though most don't.
This is like the ultimate Fortnite Christmas CPU for your kid or yourself.
Yeah, basically. You know, and not even just Fortnite. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, if you want to play the latest COD game, if you want to play... Oh, yeah. So, James, I don't know. My camera should be working for you. I actually don't know why that isn't working. So, oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. Yep. Hopefully that's working. Can you say something? I actually think your audio might have cut out when I was changing things.
I'm James. Am I still here?
Oh, yeah. You're still there. All right. Cool.
Oh.
And you broke up a little bit, but that's okay. All right, so let's have a look at if there's anything else for us to really share. Okay, so one area where AMD is actually going to fall a little bit behind on specs here is the Core i5-9400F, which they're positioning the 3300X against, is a 6-core. So there may be workloads where Intel is going to come out ahead with that processor, but I mean, Intel's stronghold lately has been gaming, and if the 3300X performs anywhere near what I would expect, I think it's going to absolutely crush the 9400F when it comes to low-end gaming. With that said, and this is interesting. Okay, so we don't actually know for sure what the CCX arrangements of these chips are. So CCXs, for those who are not familiar, are the multiple kind of chiplets that AMD puts together to make a processor. And depending on how many chiplets you have and how they're interconnected, there can be latency disadvantages or advantages depending on the layout. So the rumor is that the 3100 is going to be cheaper because it's a multiple CCX design, whereas the 3300X could be a single CCX, which could make it fantastic for gaming. Man, this is like going back to like the Athlon 2500 plus days, right? Like when you could buy a processor. Remember, this is $99 retail price. So at some point in its life cycle, it's going to go on sale for, like $90 in a bundle, when you could buy a gaming CPU for under $100. Like, that's madness. Whew. It's exciting.
Actually, kind of reminds me. I was having a discussion with David during a carpool the other day. We were trying to figure out whether or not how the next wave of consoles is they're more like PCs.
Yeah.
Will that make PC components cheaper or more expensive? I argued more expensive, but he thought maybe it would push the prices down because it would commoditize everything.
I don't think there's really a ton of room for the prices to go down a bunch.
Right.
Well, okay.
Competition's already high enough. It's already a race to the bottom. So just the fact that these components will be used up by the console market will just make them more scarce.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to affect that either. So there's a few factors here. So one is there is the components of a PC that cannot get cheaper. Things like hard drives, they're not going to get cheaper. These are all gigantic companies, whether it's Seagate or Western Digital that we're talking about. These are huge companies. They're publicly traded companies. We can look at their balance sheets. We can see what their profit margins are. Hard drives, not getting cheaper. There's just a basic fixed cost associated with these rare earth materials that need to be integrated into a hard drive to make a functioning hard drive, no matter what the capacity is. You need a motor, okay? You got to put a motor in there. You got to fill it with helium now, especially for the high cap stuff. So there's enough competition that I just don't think it's going anywhere. And hard drives are under siege, not just from alternate hard drive vendors, of which there are few enough now that it would be pretty easy for them to just kind of go, okay, let's just switch up the business. We're going to go cartel style and we're going to price fix and make sure that we can make some margin. But they're also under siege from solid state drive makers who continue to push prices lower and lower and lower. So yeah, hard drives, not happening. Solid state drives, for that matter, it's not getting cheaper. It's already pretty much a commodity item at this point. However, there are areas where there is room for things to get cheaper. I mean, for an unrelated video, I was actually looking at Intel's gross margins earlier this week, and they're somewhere in the neighborhood of like 60+%. So if you look at it and go, okay, could an Intel Core i5, whatever $250 or so processor all of a sudden be available for $200? Yeah, that's conceivable. I doubt that they would go that aggressive, especially because just because Intel's margins overall are 60+% doesn't mean that they're actually making 60+% on that product. That's, in the grand scheme of Intel's product stack, that's a low-end product, and that's not where they're making the margin.
Is that margin unique to Intel in the industry, or
No.
is that what you expect to see? Yeah, because in that industry, they have such heavy upfront capital expenditures for building these fabs and for researching the next generation of technology that they're going to launch subsequently, like way down the road. So I think it's a little misleading.
Where there is room for your PC to get a little bit cheaper, I would say, is in your GPU. NVIDIA also enjoys these healthy, 60+% gross margins, except that all NVIDIA does, by comparison to at least, I mean, I'm not saying NVIDIA doesn't invest in R&D, they absolutely do, but they don't build fabs. So NVIDIA gets to take advantage of TSMC's fab building process, and they just have to design the chip and make it work on TSMC's node. So I think NVIDIA could probably, drop their price if they felt like the next gen consoles were, taking a chunk out of their business. And they could, because they're all going to be powered by AMD. There's going to be no NVIDIA GPUs. And actually, okay, I don't know. It's possible that like a Nintendo successor could be NVIDIA powered. The current one is. I forgot about that.
Is anyone talking about that?
Yeah, people have talked about it. Yeah, how both Microsoft and Sony are AMD camps, and then Nintendo sort of randomly went NVIDIA this time around just because they wanted that. Well, basically, I mean, the Switch just is an NVIDIA Shield tablet. Like if you, I mean, obviously a better one, a heavily modified one, an improved one, but it basically takes that concept of a tablet that you can game with on the go and then dock when you want to game on your TV, and is like, yoink, that's mine now. I'm going to steal this meme, So yeah, there is room for your PC to get cheaper, but I don't expect the upcoming consoles to really put much in the way of pressure on that. They're going to occupy the low end of the market, anywhere from $400 to $500, where generally speaking, manufacturers are already taking as little profit as they can in order to just do the volume of business that they need to do. I mean, that's something a lot of consumers don't really understand, is that manufacturers, in order to even meet the production quotas that they've had to commit to in order to build their high-end profitable products, will sometimes have to pump out low-end products that they don't make any money on, or that they even lose money on, so that they don't lose their contracts, for example, or so that they don't have to lay off the staff that they need to make those juicy products, or to justify the lease that they have on this giant building, or whatever the case may be. There is an incentive for manufacturers to keep up their volumes. I mean, there's other factors that are just financial too. Sometimes companies, for whatever reason, I've never really subscribed to this, and I remember getting in arguments at my old job. For some reason, companies feel the need to measure based on how high their top line revenue is. And that seems to determine the valuation of this company to lenders, for example. Like, oh, we're $1 billion company. It's like, oh, well, what was your net profit? I don't know. Who cares? We're $1 billion company, right? Well, no, hold on. To me, net profit was always far more important than what kind of top line revenue we're doing. But that is a factor in some corporate cultures. I remember at my old job, we would get pushed. The product management team would get pushed to hit these crazy, revenue goals. Like, oh, everyone's going to get a bonus if we do $1 million revenue in one day. And we'd look at that and we'd go, well, yeah, I can do $1 million revenue in one day. All I need to do is sell Extreme Editions for $500 and we'll get there just like lickety split, right? We'll lose a bunch of money. No one's going to get paid, but we can do $1 million revenue in one day if that makes you feel like your bigger, right? So
Well, I think there's also pressure, especially when you're a publicly traded company, to keep that stock price high because that's how you
absolutely.
secure additional financing. And everyone who's giving you funds, they're doing it in exchange for shares, so they want those shares to be worth a lot. So that metric's more
Exactly.
important.
It's yet another way that modern businesses seem to get incentivized to do the wrong things in the name of making the business better. And that can harm them in the long term. I was reading a really interesting article about Rolex of all things. I'm not a watch guy. I'm not into watches, but it was an article that was about how Rolex continues to innovate. And again, as not a watch guy, I kind of look at a watch and I go, sorry, innovate what? It either knows what time it is or it doesn't. And I thought we pretty much nailed that down a couple hundred years ago. So what exactly is the remaining innovation? And so it, talked about, what that innovation might actually mean, which was very helpful background information for somebody like me reading the article. But it talked about how the way that Rolex was originally structured, their corporate structure was designed so that it could basically continue perpetually without ever being beholden to any kind of shareholders. And so all their revenue numbers, sales figures, design, nobody knows anything about the internal workings of Rolex effectively. And that's allowed them, and they're not accountable to anyone. So by not having to do a quarterly earnings call or any of that goofy stuff, they can make big bets. They can do stuff that might be against the conventional wisdom and just do what they think is right. And I'm like, oh, that actually makes so much sense to me, because that's one of the big reasons that Linus Media Group has never solicited any kind of outside shareholders or anything like that, because as much as there might have been times that we could have used the money, and with our public profile, there's no doubt that we could raise a bunch of money if we wanted to. I just don't want to be accountable to anyone else. If I want to make a crazy decision, like, we're going to abandon tech videos and we're going to move into, all toys and games videos on Channel Superfun. As long as I've got my team on board, my staff's like, okay, I guess you haven't really led us astray so far. Let's give it a shot. I want to be able to do that. And even though I could maintain, 51% ownership or something like that and make unilateral decisions, I always feel like even if, by law, I'm not accountable to my shareholders by sort of, I don't know what the word would be. Ethics, is that the word I'm looking for? Just integrity? Like
Mores.
I feel like I should care, and that should be a team decision if there's other people who have a vested stake in the company. So yeah, I forget how I got on this topic, but I thought that was cool, and I respect it pretty much.
Yeah, like if we need to raise money, we'll just issue a cryptocurrency or something,
You know what's funny is we had thought about doing it. We had even said on WAN, we were like, yeah, we're totally gonna do it. We're gonna do Linus Coin. But the further we got into the weeds on it, the more we realized that there's really no way to do it and make money without screwing over someone else. So we were like, oh, all right. Well, that explains why everyone's doing this. Yeah, neat. So yeah, I'm out.
You want to talk about this Facebook thing?
No. I want to talk about the other part of the 1-2 punch to Intel's low end. So this is really cool. The B550 finally appears. It's been long rumored, but it looks like we are getting an entry-level chipset to accompany these Ryzen 3 processors, and it's actually better than I expected. So it's going to have, compared to X570, it's going to have, rumors. Never mind, these are rumors. Little further info has been suggested other than PCI Gen 3 or Gen 4. All right, so apparently it will feature fewer USB 3.2 Gen 2, whatever that is. I think that's 10 gig, and SATA ports, and will communicate with the CPU via a PCIe Gen 3 link. Okay, so that means with 20 usable PCIe 4.0 lanes on the CPU, you'd still get Gen 4 speeds on your main 16X slot, so to your graphics card, and a secondary X4, which would probably be M.2, and then everything else would be slower. So if you wanted to put like 10 gigabit networking on a B550 board for whatever reason, because you're crazy, that could end up bottlenecked if the user also was, writing data from that interface to an M.2 SSD that was on a Gen 3 link on there as well. So this is exciting, ladies and gentlemen. It opens up a lot of possibilities for us to do some really cool builds. Like, hey, we did a $400 gaming machine that's actually really great and really competitive. Like if I'm Sony or Microsoft, I'm looking at this going like, come on, AMD, we're trying to sell these cheap processors in our game console. Why you gotta just give them to everyone like this? But hey, it's good for us. I love it. All right, James, bring us into this topic, because I really want to talk about it. Do you want to do the rundown through this one? I will hold my peace. I will say nothing.
Okay, so it came to the attention of this, a website, a news website that I don't know. It's called The Markup, but they did this investigation where they made their own ads using this category of ad targeting that you can use. When you make an ad on Facebook, you can naturally target it at specific psychographics and stuff that Facebook has, and that's why advertising on Google or Facebook is so awesome.
Okay, I promised I wouldn't say anything, but James, you've actually done some advertising for us on Google and Facebook, right? Yeah. So can you talk about, for people who don't know, I actually don't even know that much about it. Can you talk us through how you create a targeted ad in the first place?
Well, there's a couple different types. Like on some platforms, there's just boosted posts. So any post, like any video you upload to YouTube or any post that you make on Instagram or Facebook, you could just boost. So then that's why you get that little promoted box underneath it, and it just gets put in front of other people who aren't on your friends list or whatever. But I think you can also just make just straight up ads that are going to apply to like the sidebar on the desktop, for example. And when you're making those types of things, you can choose which kind of geographic range you want them to be served to. So I only want people in Kansas to see this political ad, for example. And then there's all sorts of psychographics and demographics. So it should be women between the ages of 30 and 50 who like, now here's where it gets really interesting, who like exercise pants and also Vessi shoes. So those are the targeting categories that we're talking about here, where this organization, The Markup, discovered that there was a targeting category for pseudoscience, people who like pseudoscience. And they created their own ads and boosted posts on Instagram and Facebook to target these people. And the ad got approved. And so then they reached out to Facebook, multiple people at Facebook, waited, and finally got a response. And the response that they got just said, we removed the targeting category. We removed pseudoscience as a category. And I think the reason that they did that so promptly is because they had experience doing this before. For years now, I think pseudoscience has been a category for like 6 years or something. And they've had other categories that they've had to remove before, including vaccine controversies, people who are interested in vaccine controversies, chemtrail conspiracy theory. And in fact, I also have in the notes here, Jew hater and history of why Jews ruin the world. So clearly,
wait, shut up. I actually haven't read through the notes. That was an advertising targeting category on Facebook.
That's right. So what that says to me is there's no one working at Facebook who's saying, hey, we notice a lot of users are searching this stuff. Let's make this a category. No human is doing that. It must be algorithmic, right? This is based on what people are typing in or based on the titles of things they're clicking on or something. So to me, it looks like programmatically pseudoscience, although pseudoscience isn't a word that someone would put in their own content.
I don't buy it.
So that's weird.
Yeah, I don't buy it. If I'm interested in pseudoscience, I think I've been profiled as someone who is interested in pseudoscience. I don't acknowledge that, because if I'm someone who buys into pseudoscience, I don't know that pseudo, guys, it's right in the name. Pseudo means fake. It means fake science.
Even if
fake
you
science.
Even if you think of it as alternative, you're not going to use the word pseudoscience,
you would
because
never
the framing
use that.
of that
Exactly.
No.
You think
That's like
you're
someone who's pro-choice calling themselves pro-abortion.
or
It's
like
not done.
or like pro killing babies or something like that. Like you're using the other side's terminology to describe your own position. That's not how it happens. So if I'm into pseudoscience, I'm into alternative medicine, or I'm into,
Integrated health.
yeah, I'm at the next level, right? Like I think I'm above it. I'm past it. So the fact that they have a pseudoscience category to me indicates exactly the opposite, that this is 100% intentional, and they're taking these gullible people who don't understand the scientific method. The kinds of people that'll say believing in science is no different than believing in anything else, because you're just believing something that you can't, that isn't 100% correct. It's like, yeah, but the thing about science is that it's the pursuit of knowledge. We know it isn't perfect. That's the whole point. And that
There's no dogma.
Yes,
You
there's no
reject
easy
it.
answer.
But the thing that sucks about science is that you can never prove that something doesn't exist. I can never prove that cows with red polka dots don't exist. They haven't been observed, so there's no reason that they do exist.
Oh, yeah, but that gets into a much deeper sort of conversation. So tell me this. I want to have real talk, real conversation here. Is this the most blatantly evil thing you've seen out of Facebook so far? Intentionally creating a category that allows you to target people who are gullible and vulnerable to believing things that simply have no proof that they are true, and in fact may be well known to be not true.
Well, it's interesting because they're doing this simultaneously. Like, this is all in the context of COVID. And simultaneously as this is happening, other parts of the business, including the CEO Zuckerberg, are making all these other efforts and announcements and things they're implementing that are the exact opposite of this. Since the Cambridge Analytica thing, and maybe even before, they've been so focused on trying to have truth on the platform and try to reduce the amount of...
Have they?
From a PR perspective.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yes. All right. Sure.
Like on the 16th of April, Zuckerberg said that Facebook they added warning labels on 40 million posts related to COVID-19. They have this other thing where, like, if you had engaged with a post that was known to be unsubstantiated related to COVID, they gave you a notification telling you that, and you could click through and go to the World Health Organization's website for information. So parts of the business are trying, but is it just the fact? Are they a hydra and some of the heads don't talk to other heads?
It kind of
priorities.
It kind of looks that way, doesn't it? Because okay, you know what? No, I don't think they're a hydra. I think that someone at some point who is aware of these positive initiatives has to be also aware of pseudoscience as a freaking targeted category on the platform. Like, there's no way, because the thing is, if you're working on truth on the platform, right? You're looking at organic posts. So whatever Linda or Karen posted in their, mom group or whatever, you're looking at that kind of stuff. But you're also looking at boosted posts. So organic posts or seemingly organic posts that have been given a little kick in the butt. And then you're also looking at advertising posts, right? Because all of that is part of that transparency and fact on the platform sort of initiative that they're supposedly working on, right? So as soon as you encountered an ad, right, that was obviously false, I'm imagining what Facebook's internal interface looks like. It's probably not garbage, given that they are a web development company. So probably when I click on that post, there's something akin to the the business manager interface that we've got for managing our own boosted or advertising posts that says what categories this post was intended to target. So
but Linus, that information is exposed to Facebook users now. You can do that. You can click on an ad and say, "Why am I seeing this?" And it'll say you were selected as part of the pseudoscience category.
Exactly.
So the user can see that. So it's not a big secret.
So I don't buy the Hydra argument then. There's no way that these guys working on the positive initiatives couldn't have noticed this. So I think it's just as simple as they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to talk about how they care about people getting, real evidence-based information, but they want to make money on people peddling nonsense on the back end. I think it's that simple. It's gross.
I mean, but this whole theory is based on the fact that you and I can't figure out how this category was labeled the way it's labeled. So there could be an easy explanation for that that we're just not thinking of.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, AI tools, they're getting pretty good. Maybe they managed to maybe the AI managed to label it on its own. But that is just brutal.
You do
really
have to
mad.
imagine that like the graph is so huge. The graph meaning like the network and like how many different categories there are and how many each user falls into. It's so like unfathomably large that there's by and large there's no human like putting all the balls into different buckets. It has to be happening programmatically.
No, I just think, so I agree with you there, but I just also think that if they were making an earnest and honest effort to remove pseudoscience from their platform, somebody working on one of those initiatives would have seen this, just naturally seen this before a third party reported it to them. I just don't buy that.
Have you ever scrolled through Facebook and seen someone's post have that flag over it that says it's fake news?
No, I haven't.
It's so sweet. Yeah. My wife showed me the other day. She was scrolling through, and one of those like, those people you have on your Facebook who just post stupid crap, and that you read and you just think's ignorant.
Yeah.
It was that person posting that kind of thing, and it just had like a superimposed on top of it. There's a banner covering the content of the meme, being like, this meme has been shown to be inaccurate. And then you can click through and like learn about why. It brings you to like a fact-checked third-party site, something akin to Snopes.com.
Right.
And you can just read about why it's inaccurate. It's
that's great.
And it's kind of like socially, it's like a slap in the face. Like if you post stuff that gets those banners on it, it's like so shameful. I'd be ashamed.
Yeah, but you would be ashamed. But that's exactly the difference. Is I think a lot of the people who post that kind of stuff don't understand why they should feel ashamed. Like they think they're on another level, right?
Or they double down. A lot of people just double down. You dig in your heels, and it just makes you more dedicated to the tribe you're in because the man or the media is keeping you down.
Whoever the opponent is. Okay, Ian Visser says, for sakes, pseudoscience is theoretical science, as in proven via scientific results, but goes against the current acknowledged system. So if you counter E equals MC squared and prove it with science, it's labeled pseudoscience. Ian, no. Pseudo means adjective, not genuine, spurious, or sham. Pseudoscience is not real science by the very definition of pseudoscience. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Well, I mean, there are things like entrance to science, things that are kind of like under review that are not part of the canon yet, that like just need more testing. There are hypotheses that need to.
Yes.
The difference between a hypothesis and a theory, one of them, or the difference, between a theory and a law, one of them is just the test of time. Like the law of gravity, for example, like it's just stood for so long that it's part of the canon. So maybe he's referring to some stuff like that.
That's quite possible. All right, so let's move on to our next topic, which is actually kind of related. So this was originally posted on BBC. Actually, CNN's got an article about it as well. So YouTube has apparently banned medically unsubstantiated content. So they deleted some videos earlier this month that linked coronavirus to 5G. And YouTube CEO said in an interview with CNN this week that YouTube would be removing information that is problematic. That is one heck of a quote. YouTube, man, Google, you guys just have this way of like taking something that you're doing that might not be the end of the world or horrible and being so cagey and like,
well,
weird and evil about it that it makes it seem really, really bad. And it opens up. I love that she left the door open for it to be really bad.
Well, the quote looks really bad, and that's kind of part of the reason I put it in here, because it's like, whoa, well, who decides? And but in this case, this was taken from an interview, not a press release,
Yes.
not the verbiage of a new terms of service. So it's just like, you know, she's kind of stammering. She's doing a list. This is just what ended up coming out of her mouth during this interview. So I don't think the sky is falling.
But it also tells you, you know, where the mindset is at, right? Like they've talked about, you know, elevating authoritative voices, which is another way of saying, you know, pushing down non-authoritative voices, right? Like you can't elevate on a platform like YouTube. There's a fixed number of spots to promote content, right? It's finite. It depends on how many users there are and how long they're on the site and how many of those spots they encounter. So it's a finite resource. So by elevating sources that they consider to be accurate, you are inherently de-elevating. What would be the opposite of elevating? Help me out here, James. You're usually
lowering,
diminishing. Dang it. Diminishing. Sure. Let's go with diminishing. You are diminishing the exposure of anything that you don't consider to be trustworthy. With that said, I don't necessarily disagree with what they've defined as problematic here. So anything that is medically unsubstantiated or anything going against the World Health Organization recommendations. And there has been some backlash against the WHO in the last little bit, but I don't think any of it has been around their recommendations in terms of, you know, how diseases are transmitted and some of the basic stuff. It seems to be more the politics and the culture of the World Health Organization and, you know, not necessarily their recommendations with respect to social distancing and stuff like that. She added that we do remove across YouTube in non-pandemic times information that is in violation of our policy, and they have been continually updating their policy as the virus situation changes, which led to the removal of the 5G content, for example. So what's your take on that? Should they allow videos suggesting that people inject disinfectant into their bodies, for example? You've been following that, right?
Part of me is kind of like, natural selection, baby.
Okay, you can't say that. You can't say that on the WAN show. Awkward.
Well, and it's also just not true, because those people, like, even that natural selection argument is just not true, because those people are just going to be burdens on the healthcare system, and it's going to hurt other people. So
yes.
But they've made something very dangerous, and people thought this when the Gutenberg press was invented, just for so that anybody could just print a book. It's the same thing. It's your greatest gift and your greatest curse. Now knowledge is distributed, so anybody can make it and consume it. And when you're making, you know, if you're making a video, you can sound like an expert because there's no one there to contest you at the time. So it's pretty dangerous. So some moderation has to happen, and that moderation has to happen from a centralized source. So it's just always going to be problematic.
But then you open yourself up to new problems, right? Because as soon as you allow a central source to, you know, determine what is true and what is not, at the end of the day, you might, and I could see this argument being made, you might end up throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Yeah, man, I don't know. And guys, okay.
Well, just imagine that if 5G is related to COVID, if that happened.
Yes.
They would... Anarchy. They're pretty sure it's not, though. So I think they're being sensitive around, like, we're going to remove things that are just blatantly poisonous.
Yes. We've got some people saying, you know, raw, natural selection, Darwin Awards. Okay, guys, for real, though. Like, that's not natural selection, actually. That's a societal problem that people do not have the proper education and the skills that they need to ferret out untruths when they're reading or consuming media. That's not natural selection. That doesn't mean that they are somehow lesser. That just means that for whatever reason, they were not given access to the skills, whether it was a cultural issue or whatever the case may be. So you can't just go like, oh yeah, you know, anyone dumb enough to believe that, and they should just let them all inject disinfectant into themselves. Because that's really not fair. Like, we could miss out on the next Isaac Newton or the next Einstein because no one ever bothered to teach them, you know, the actual function of disinfectant and how it does not actually work from inside the body, or rather that it does work from inside the body, which is exactly the problem.
I think we should do the sponsors.
Yeah, let's do the sponsors. Let's do them hard. The show is also brought to you by Pluralsight. Pluralsight is a skill development platform with 7,000 expert-led video courses. Topics include JavaScript, Python, C#, I'm sure that's a typo. I'm sure they meant C#, and more. It's got to be Colton or Jono. C#, love it. And more. And Pluralsight makes it easy, especially in a time like this, to stay at home and level up your skills. It's free for the month of April, so go check it out at the link in the video description, which, is supposed to be on top of James. There we go. So get Pluralsight for free. During April 2020, level up your skills now. Who knows? By the time we all get back to work like normal, you might be doing a different job if you level up enough. And the show is brought to you by Vessi Footwear, starting at $95. Oh, hold on. They're both going to do it. Hey! Oh, you've got the shoe in water. Okay, you leveled up your footwear shilling skills. So Vessi makes the 100% waterproof shoe that's great for walking through rain, snow, mud, and slush without worry. Their Dymatex material regulates the temperature of your feet, so on hot days it'll keep you cool, and on cool days it'll keep you warm. And Vessi shoes are flexible and stretchy, which are kind of two ways of saying the same thing, making it almost feel like a second pair of socks. They're one of the lightest sneakers in the world at just 175 grams. That's about the weight of an iPhone. And their herringbone tread pattern is designed to grip just about anything you walk on, making them great for hikes. You can actually see I've been beating up mine a little bit.
Way lighter than some iPhones.
Yes, it is.
The 11 Pro Max is like 206 grams or something.
Yeah, I've been super happy with these. I've actually been wearing shoes lately. You'd be proud of me. I've been wearing my my Vessi shoes, although I don't know that I'm using them for what they intended. You can actually see the wear pattern is really weird on them. See that? The black is basically not worn at all, and same with the heel, and then the middle is like beat up to crap. That's because I've been using them on my bike rides. I actually got a bike.
Nice.
That's my leg day now. So my son got a bike and I got one, and we've been going ripping around. I just load the girls in the trailer. So that's about, between the girls and the trailer, it's about 150 pounds. And then we go kind of at his pace, but I'm hauling 150 pounds with me, and it's been just a fantastic workout. And you should never ride a bike with sandals, because my dad actually was the reason that I will never get on a bicycle with anything other than closed-toed shoes, as hardcore as I am on the sandal bandwagon, because his big toe was like mangled. He got it caught in the chain when he was a kid, and it was just like, it was weird. It was like split. It like had like a peak on it down the middle of the toenail. Really gross. Anyway, Vessi, great guys, donating surgical masks, sneakers, and all that kind of good stuff to local heroes. You can choose what you pay, starting at $95 and up. And the higher the price, the more Vessi can donate. Go to vessifootwear.com/LinusTechTips to learn more. So yeah, that's why I will never get on a bicycle without my Vessi shoes. Oh, wait, I've got one more shilltastic thing for you guys. LTTstore.com, suckers. We have launched, this is going to be exciting. You guys are going to love it, all right? We have launched a shipping promo for our US viewers that is going to cost us a lot of money. We are shipping out of Canada, but we are still offering $4.99 flat rate shipping across the US this weekend, now through Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Pacific. So go check it out. If you were waiting to place an order on lttstore.com and you're in the US, now is the time to do it. I actually don't know if it's all, I can't imagine we're shipping to Alaska at that rate. I have no idea. If there's any Alaskans in the chat, guys, let me know if your region is qualifying for the shipping here, but go check it out. We've got water bottles, we've got stealth hoodies, we've got t-shirts galore, and there's actually one more LTT store related thing. I'm going to post this in the chat here, but we've created a straw poll. It looks like we are running out of things that really need to be 3D printed. A lot of the stuff that the frontline workers need is moving to injection molding, which is faster and more efficient than 3D printing. So 3D printing stuff might not be a practical way to help with the effort. So we've created a straw poll here. I'm going to go ahead and, wow, the YouTube chat moves so fast that I doubt you guys are even going to get a chance to click those links. I'm going to drop out of the CMS here on Floatplane, drop that in the chat. And we want you guys to tell us, line workers, how we should use the rest of the funds that we collected through selling the folding at home shirt, because on purpose, basically, intentionally, we did not commit to a particular use for them because we wanted to be able to do whatever is the most useful thing. So we're going to leave it up to you guys. I fired up that straw poll there, guys. Make sure you vote and let us know what you want us to do with the extra money that we raised with the folding at home shirt. So just a reminder, the proceeds, so that is after the cost of the shirts and after printing, the proceeds for the folding shirt that we sold a few weeks ago, those are going to help COVID causes. But now that our usefulness there is limited, we want to know what you guys want. So far, direct relief for homeless and shelters is leading. BC Children's Hospital. No one likes sick kids, or that came across wrong. No one likes kids being sick.
I think
that's
Food
number
Bank
2.
would be a good one.
Food Bank is in number 3. Canadian Red Cross is number 4. Meals on Wheels is number 5. And just because something wins doesn't mean that everything will necessarily go there. What we could do is we could just split it up. That might be a cool way to do it. Just, that way the food bank gets 21% of the funds, even if they didn't win, So just want to shout you guys out because we raised over 40 grand. So whatever the thing you guys are voting on right now matters a lot, and every vote counts, especially if we do decide to divvy it up according to proportions. So just huge shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. And just while we're at it, shout out to Intel for matching. They actually matched our donation up to, I believe it was 40 grand. And they contributed that directly to the Folding at Home project. So it was a really big push from our community, and we're really proud. Okay, Nick confirms it is everywhere in the US. Okay then. Well, wow. I really hope that works out okay. Neat. Let's move on. Okay. Oh, that could get really expensive. Okay, RTX Voice. RTX Voice was big news this week. Did you try it, James?
I didn't try it myself, but I was involved in Alex's video, and I gotta say, this is the type of thing, when you hear about a new technology and your imagination imagines the best way it could be, and then when it actually comes out, it's the opposite of that. It's tech news is so cool, and then tech is always it's okay. I have to wait another 3 years before it does what I want it to do. This was promise delivered. I was oh, that would be cool in concept, and then it's actually exceeding everyone's expectations. It's so awesome.
Yeah. That short circuit video, even though it went up 2 or 3 days ago, has 675,000 views, 50,000 upvotes. People are jazzed about RTX Voice. And the coolest thing about it is that, as it turns out, the impressive RTX Voice noise suppression app doesn't actually require ray tracing or RT or tensor cores to function. And there's a fallback. There's a fallback. No, there's a fallback to general purpose CUDA cores. And so,
but
yes,
the good thing about it being on tensor cores was that you could be gaming and streaming, and you could turn on RTX Voice without using any of the resources that you used to be contributing to those other things.
Yes, but also anecdotally, the GPU fallback mode uses very few GPU resources, with random HKID reporting 1 to 2% usage on a GTX 980 and about 300 megabytes of VRAM usage. So
sweet. This is the kind of thing where you're you use it, and suddenly I'm this is going to be on every app in 2 years. Everything's going to have it.
Yes.
Zoom is going to have it. Every phone app, every game. We all use it all the time. Don't turn it off. It's on by default. It's so sweet.
It's shockingly good. In the video, I've got my kids shrieking in the background behind me, really giving her. And I mean, I couldn't hear the difference because I only hear my monitoring is a direct feed from my mic. So it doesn't pass through RTX voice processing before I hear it. That's so that I don't have any latency on my own voice so that it's easier to talk. So I couldn't hear the difference it was making. I was just hey, Alex, is it working now? And he was whoa, yeah. So I went back and I watched the video, and it's mind blowing. It's just unbelievable because I could see it being able to get rid of something simple, like the background hum of an air conditioning unit or something like that, right? Something predictable. But to filter out human voices from a recording that is supposed to contain human voices. That's next level, right? Like filtering out the wrong voices. It's amazing.
This is going to be so awesome when this hits headphones.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
How long? Maybe 2 years or something like that. You'll be able to get headphones where the active noise canceling does variable waveforms rather than just the continuous waveforms we're used to from the engine hum. Actually can't hear any crying babies. Nothing.
Man, it's gonna change air travel forever, assuming the air travel industry survives. Oops. Oh, sorry.
By the time you ride on a plane again, you might have these.
Yeah,
headphones.
I know, right? So the crazy thing is you can actually run the CUDA version on hardware as old as Fermi. So that would be GTX 400 series. It's like, wow. What is that, 10 years ago or something like that? It's ridiculous. 10, 11 years ago. All you have to do is make a quick edit to the file after launching the installer for it to install and run normally on non-RTX hardware. That's pretty crazy. Now, it may be...
any way to use this on integrated graphics at all?
No. So even the backup code path is CUDA. So that would require NVIDIA hardware. There's some speculation that the reason NVIDIA didn't just open it up to everyone might be that it does use some of your GPU resources that could otherwise be used for gaming and does use some of your VRAM. So they might have been concerned about, I mean, we all remember the GTX 970 memory problem where part of the memory was slower that led to a class action lawsuit over false advertising. I mean, if they came out and they were like, hey, there's no performance impact, and it turns out there is a small performance impact, maybe that was their reason for withholding this version, or maybe they just wanted to trickle it out. I mean, they've definitely done that in the past where they've given us a little bit of good news followed by more good news, even though all the good news was ready in the first place.
NVIDIA is really good at AI. They publish a ton of AI research papers. If you ever follow the YouTuber 2 Minute Papers, sweet YouTube channel, does a lot of like you see those research papers where they have like an algorithm just like removing something from a photo and like just interpolating what the space behind that object would have looked like, and it just looks perfect. NVIDIA does a lot of stuff like that. They're very good at AI, but I would expect other players to make similar technology to this really soon. Maybe it'll even end up being a pixel only feature from Google, because Google's also very good at AI.
Right. Yep. And I think that I'm trying to remember if the latest Pixels already have AI-specific processing hardware in them. Do they have, I know Huawei brands it an NPU. I'm trying to remember if Google has an analogous unit inside the Snapdragon versions that they're using. I actually can't remember. I mean, there's a lot of phones that are already out there with AI-specific hardware in them. And I use AI loosely here. What I really mean is machine learning, of course, in this case.
For a photo processor, I believe. And maybe like a secure enclave.
Yeah, the secure enclave probably wouldn't be useful for this kind of thing, but the photo processor is something that could potentially be used. You'd never be on a call and taking a picture at this. Well, okay, you could, I guess, but that would be very rare to be on a call and taking a picture at the same time. So depending on the horsepower behind it, maybe you could see something like this in your phone. Man, that would be outstanding, wouldn't it? Love it. All right, rumor. Apple to sell Macs with its own chips starting in 2021. Apple is reportedly preparing to release at least one Mac with its own chip next year, but the initiative, codenamed Kalamata, to develop 3 different chips based on the next iPhone's A14 processor, suggests the company will transition more of its Mac lineup away from its current supplier, Intel. TSMC is rumored to be building the new Mac chips, which will be based on a 5-nanometer production technique from, TSMC. I guess I already said that. So it's the same as the next iPhones and iPad Pros. And the first Mac processors will allegedly have 8 high-performance cores, codenamed Firestorm, and at least 4 energy-efficient cores, codenamed Ice Storm. Wow.
They each needed their own code name.
Man, this is going to be crazy. So having Macs, iPhones, and iPads running the same underlying technology could make it easier for Apple to unify its app ecosystems and update its computers more often. Now, one thing that's a little confusing to me is Apple has got to be, I don't know, a decade away from building something that could conceivably end up in a successor to the Mac Pro. So if they knew they were going down this path, which if they're releasing something next year, they would have known 2, 3 years ago, 4 years, 5 years ago that they were going down this path, why did they bother to do the Mac Pro? Like, is the Mac Pro just going to be this like weird abandonware product a few years from now? Again, like, is Mac Pro just going to turn into like this meme where it's like, hey, yeah, we made a new Mac Pro and it's got all this great stuff and you're going to be able to upgrade. Yeah, I forget we ever said anything. Is that what's going to happen?
Know. It could, but if it's like 6 years later, then who cares? Because if you're in the market for such hardware, and you're continuing to do your job, then your update cycle is probably within that time frame anyway. They're probably going to start with the MacBook Air or like the least demanding MacBook, right? So
I don't know. Alex has his take in here. His family apparently bought a PowerPC Mac 2 years before they switched to Intel. And he said, yeah, you were basically screwed no matter what, because these were your options. Continue using macOS 9, made for PowerPC, and slowly have your application stop receiving updates, but at least it's fast. Also, the programs that were bought for macOS 9 still worked, like F18 Korea Gold. Okay, thank you, Alex, for that. Or switch to macOS 10, which was made for Intel, and have everything chug on your PowerPC. Almost all programs for macOS 9 didn't work. At least current programs received updates, though. Like, okay. Yeah, I can see this being pretty nasty, because any kind of emulation of x86 is going to come with a significant performance penalty. And Apple's been on x86 for a long time now. Like, if they had made this transition sort of quickly again before everyone got settled, maybe it would have been easier, or maybe people would have been even more mad. I don't know what would have been the better move, but
maybe they'll give you a bonus or a bundle for an upgrade path, or maybe they'll do a buyback or something like that.
I doubt it. Apple I can't think of any time they've done something as consumer friendly as a buyback. There's no way.
Well, it depends. It depends on the pushback they get. Like, everybody freaked out about the throttling of the CPU when because of the battery health, and then they started offering battery replacements, right?
That is true. Actually, you know what? I take it back. That was a fairly consumer friendly way to handle that. We've got one more that I really want to talk about. Android Automotive coming soon. Not to be confused with Android Auto, because Google cannot stick to anything. Android Automotive will not require a phone plugged into your car in order to operate, and will be arriving in the Volvo Polestar 2, an all-electric car. So the whole infotainment system is going to be powered by Android 10 and will offer Google integrations. He says, also, the Polestar 2 has 408 horsepower, and I really want to unbox one. Okay, duly noted, Alex. Thank you very much for that.
Boxes.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of do. There's like PDI, right? Like, they've got that, that white vinyl wrap on it and stuff. You know what? I'll tell you what. I mean, short circuit. Like, that's the whole idea behind that channel, is like, I don't give a what products we cover. Whatever you're passionate about, just go for it, right?
Man, Luke was right about the swearing thing. How I can't hear the beep. It's so jarring.
So if you can convince Volvo to give you one to like unbox, we'll do a short circuit. No problem. Right, I lied. There's one more big deal. The FCC has ratified unlicensed use of the 6 gigahertz radio frequency spectrum in the USA, opening up the way for the proposed Wi-Fi 6E standard. I thought that was dead in the water. It's back, baby. This is the biggest spectrum addition since the FCC cleared the way for Wi-Fi in 1989. This is a big deal. So 6 gigahertz is, as you can probably tell from the name, a little bit higher than 5 gigahertz. So that means we're expecting a little bit less range, but a little bit more data throughput. And what's really cool is that it is a big chunk of spectrum. So it's about the same theoretical top speed as 5 gigahertz, about 9.6 gigabit per second. But I would expect to see performance improvements kind of across the board as spectrum just kind of gets less crowded. So even if you're going to stick on 5 gigahertz, if your neighbor moves to 6, your Wi-Fi is going to get noticeably faster. Assuming that you and your neighbor are both heavy users and you're streaming video and stuff. Like, obviously, if neither of you were really using it, it won't get much faster. Industry giants Intel and Broadcom began planning for this move 2 years ago. Broadcom released its first Wi-Fi 6E chipset in February. Oh, wow. So this is like, oh, this is great. This is coming. Deployment should really kick off in 2021 when the Wi-Fi Alliance begins offering certifications for Wi-Fi 6E devices. I'm jazzed. More Wi-Fi, more faster Wi-Fi, more spectrum. You can't get me down about that. I love it. Leading us to super chats. And James, I know that you need to go, so why don't you bail and I'll do the super chats.
I would like to excuse myself actually, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, for sure. Wow,
all right, well,
YouTube chat is going so fast. I just can't even. Oh, I was gonna say bye, James, but he can't hear me anymore. Bye, James. All right, so I'm just gonna switch over to, hey, there he is, Linus webcam, and oh shoot, I don't have the assets for the but yeah, whatever, it's fine, it doesn't matter. I was gonna put the lower third on there. Yeah. Oh wait, do I have it? Add existing. Hey, look at that. All right. I'll leave a little pixel there. Let's do some super chats, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, it seems to be bugged. No new super chats or members yet, but I know I definitely saw some come in. If I reload this page, is it going to break it worse, though? Shoot, I might not have your super chats, guys. I blame YouTube. I blame you, YouTube. The page is not even reloading. Help me out here, YouTube. Come on. Hey, it's in there. Nice. All right. I'm just going to expand this window a little bit so that my scroll bar works. It really is just an awful page. Marcos asks, how's retirement? Oh, it's great. It's great. I love retirement. It's exactly like before, I can hardly even tell the difference. Very comfortable. Lucky Falcor, any plans to keep the RTX intro? We are potentially exploring doing something like that. Right now, I believe we have a license to use it one time. And if it's possible to have a license to use it all the time, the audience reaction to it was very good, so we would definitely be interested in that option. James Old Digis says, with the massive speeds of USB 3.1 Plus, portable OSs are finally viable daily drivers. Would you consider doing a video on them? Like Windows to Go versus Linux? The thing is that it's not about the sequential speed. Like, we actually showed running Windows on a super fast SD card. The issue is the random I/O, and it's still not good enough. USB has some protocol overhead that is not present in, definitely not NVMe, not even SATA. So yeah, I guess it's kind of viable, but I still wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I'll think about it though. I'll think about it. Thanks for the idea, James. Robert says, I'm writing this super chat on behalf of dozens of us. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. We want Terran green duct tape short circuit shirts, and we want them as soon as reasonably possible. Oh man, I don't even know if we have any short circuit merch yet. We are working on it. We've got a really cool long sleeve design that I'm excited about. But no. Dominic says, for the last few weeks on Floatplane, the audio slowly goes out of sync as the video plays. Make sure you send a message to support, just because they may want some extra information from you with respect to what device you're using and if you're in your browser versus the app or whatever the case may be. Thank you for that. Jason says, Luke is hot. That wasn't Luke on the show today, but I'm sure he appreciates the sentiment either way. Tommy Gunn says, have you been to Germany? Yes. Or wait, he says, you have been to Germany. Yes, I have. What do you think about my fellow citizens? Oh man, I don't know. Jeez. Be honest and deeply offensive if needed. I would never generalize about an entire country of citizens based on the limited amount of time that I have spent in Germany on a couple of trips there for work. I will say that I have yet to go anywhere where I have been disappointed in the hospitality of the people. Germany was great in that regard. And if there's one generalization that I'll make, I was blown away by the organization of German businesses. Well, I was over there. I can say that much. What else we got here? I'm just going to do a few more here, guys. Mike Adams says, please turn off your Microsoft Teams. Okay, yes, I would, but I've been having an issue where if I take the chat audio and I put it into my Go XLR, I can't boost it high enough with the mixer. So I have to instead have it go through system, and then I have to boost it in software that way, because you guys keep complaining it's not loud enough. So I'm hoping to have no Teams notifications next week, but yeah, I'll get back to you on that. Oh, I missed something. The folding at home shirts. We have a delivery update. We are receiving them Saturday morning. So that's from the printer. So they will hopefully all be shipped next week. Thank you for your patience, guys. Oh, this is a great question from Rob. I kind of wish I had like Brandon on the show to talk about this with, or David or something. Did Red F up the Hydrogen 1 launch so badly that we will never see a flagship phone that connects to a custom sensor and lens mount to make like a Blackmagic pocket cinema camera killer like cine phone? Possibly. I think that if I was someone else looking at how badly Red flubbed that, I would go, wow, I want exactly none of that action. That's a really great question. Alex says, which RGB lighting solution would you recommend? NZXT Hue, Corsair, RSync, etc. Trying not to have a dozen different programs. You know what? We've been pretty pleased with EKs so far. Their controller uses all non-proprietary BS, so you don't have to deal with like Corsair's little weird connector that nobody else uses and stuff like that. I haven't looked at what the CPU usage is like, and I haven't spent a ton of time in the software. I'd say Corsair's is really mature if you're willing to accept that you kind of need to buy Corsair stuff. That's one of the reasons we throw Commander Pros in a lot of our showcase builds, just because like it just works. So that's my take on that. JS2K says, I look forward to buying Rolex style stock in LMG through lttstore.com. Yeah, I'm not planning to raise funds anytime in the foreseeable future. Linus Media Group, contrary to what some of the speculative posts I've seen on the forum have said, Linus Media Group is absolutely financially stable in such a way that we just, we have lots of opportunity to invest in the things that we think are important for our business and for our community without having to deal with any external stakeholders. So, Yvonne and I are the shareholders of Linus Media Group Incorporated, and that's the way that we plan to keep it. All right, let's see if there's Theorica says Peony nope, Cloverdale Rodeo nope, many nopes, LTX question mark. So that's a great question, and we will have an update for you guys soon, but I unfortunately do not have one that I can share just yet. Not just yet. All right. So that's pretty much it for the... Oh, okay. One more question. Aryan 19. Where does the price performance start decreasing on the AMD lineup for someone who will mostly game? I really like the 3600. I think it is a great balance of fantastic gaming performance, good price, and also the ability to do other stuff if you're into that, or if maybe you just want great resale value on your chip instead of buying something that's pigeonholed into just gaming, just with games today. All right, thanks for tuning into the WAN Show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And stream.